Welcome back to Only Talk Sports, and tonight we've got WillND here to talk about a variety of things, but the main focus will be on the college football playoff, but we have to touch on the portal and recap some of these bowl games because there's tons of stuff going on right now. Some stuff we don't even know about until we see it probably because there's just so many guys moving around the portal. The bowl games have been a lot of fun, but the college football playoff, it's going to be fun to predict and talk about that, but what are your initial thoughts, Will? And appreciate you for coming on. It's going to be fun.
I'm excited. This is the first time in a while, man, that I've been excited about both playoff games. There's usually like one that we know is going to be a blowout. It's going to be a dud. And then there's one that we're like kind of excited about, hoping that'll be a good game. This time I'm actually excited about both games for the first time in probably like – I'm trying to think, man. Like – maybe I'm gonna look it up. Okay, I don't know. First time in a while, I'll pull up the year.
Yeah, it's been a while, and that's why they didn't put Florida State in. I mean, everybody wanted them in. I wanted them in because they won the games, but good chance that Florida State would not have been super competitive against any, of the three teams that are in there. And as you can see with Texas and Washington and Alabama, I mean, all those teams are going to have, good performances more than likely. Yeah. I mean, if anybody's going to have a bad game, it could be Washington if they just collapse because they probably have the least talent. But even then, that's a stretch. Washington's a really good team. And Texas, Alabama, Michigan, loads of talent.
Yeah, 2017 was the last time because that had Clemson and Alabama on one side and then Georgia, Oklahoma on the other side. That was the last time.
That's true, but I mean, even then, I don't think a lot of people really were expecting Oklahoma to win. But
They're
I mean,
that was right. Weren't they the favorite?
They might have been, but I wasn't expecting it because Oklahoma, they haven't really proven anything. Even then, I don't know if that was their first year.
Georgia by 2.5. Well, Georgia hadn't either. That was the first year that Georgia really broke out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then after that, Oklahoma was always perceived to be that they're going to get blown out.
Decline, yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I remember, man, at halftime, they interviewed Baker after the game, and Baker was like, yeah, I thought we won the game at halftime. I thought it was over. Like, I thought Georgia had no chance. I was like, come on, Baker.
You can't have that mindset. It's a four-quarter game. As we can see, even in the NFL, it's a four-quarter game. You cannot give up after halftime. It doesn't matter how big your lead is. I mean, if you're up 60-0, maybe, but other than that, you just cannot slack up. But, yeah, I remember that. That was a long time ago, 6 years ago. That's funny.
But it's been 6 years since I've been excited about both games, man. Like, it's crazy.
It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to the games. I mean, I just can't believe they're only a few days away. I mean, it's been flying by. Christmas has been flying by. It's already passed. New Year's is coming up. I mean, some of these games, like, it's already over with. It's insane. Like, you barely turn them on. They're already gone. So, it's been a crazy bowl season as well, but definitely can't wait for the playoff games. Jeff is here. Appreciate that. He says,
"What's up, Jeff?
Appreciate that."
I'm sure you're excited about your Tide and the Wolverines, and
that's gonna be a lot of fun. That game definitely. I mean, Michigan's favored. Alabama's the underdog. So,
Well, who knows, man? Who knows?
But one thing that's been crazy as well has been the transfer portal. That's been out of control. Guys are going all over the place, and we've touched on a lot of these guys. I mean, most of them have already been, announced, and we've already discussed them. But you see, one of the new ones was Malik Murphy going to Duke from Texas. And a lot of people are hyped about this because, Duke's losing a lot to the portal themselves. They needed a, influx of talent coming in. And Malik Murphy has talent in spades. He just doesn't have a lot of experience. But if his talent can develop, then Duke might have their guy next year.
Huge pickup for Duke. We're like, what the heck's Duke going to do, man? Manny Diaz didn't do a good job at Miami, but Miami, no one's done a good job at Miami since Butch Davis in the mid to 90s to early 2000s. He was the last one that put together that title team. Then he left to go to the NFL. Then Larry Coker took it over, and Larry had success until like 2005. But they're kind of slowly declining. Like they're still probably them and USC had the most talent at that time, but they were slowly declining. In the 2006, it all fell apart after they got blown out by Louisville, and then Miami's never. I mean, they've had like a couple good years, like 2017, they did well. 2009, they're getting a lot of hype that year, and then they got blown out by Virginia Tech. I remember that game because our family's like we're Hokie. We have a lot of Hokie fans in the family. I remember they were so excited that they beat Miami that year.
Mm. Well, I mean, Miami talent's never been a problem. I mean, even in the down years, they've had talent. I mean, they're getting like a top 5 class this year, but it's about winning. You can't just get talent out there and then, the wins are going to come. You got to develop the talent, keep the talent there. I mean, look at A&M, as we talked about tons of times, at #1 recruiting class, most of it's gone. Florida's losing tons of guys from their vaunted recruiting classes recently. So for sure, I mean, you got to be able to bring in talent, but you also have to be able to develop the talent, keep it home, which is becoming harder and harder with the portal. So Texas losing a very talented player here because their quarterback room's so full with Quinn Ewers, Arch Manning, all that, Malik Murphy. A lot of programs would love to have a guy like that, and Duke is getting a guy like that, but it took Duke losing Riley Leonard to Notre Dame to be able to even open a spot for Malik Murphy. So that's how this portal thing works. Guys leave, more guys come in to replace those guys. And it does help teams like Duke that maybe wouldn't normally get a guy as talented as him, but he wants to play and he knows he's going to be able to start at Duke. So it might be a perfect fit if he can develop.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Manny can do it. I mean, I have the feeling that the guys at Duke will like listen to you and respect you more than the guys at Miami, because that's what happened with Manny. Like they just kind of they're like, who the heck's Manny? Like this guy sucks, and they stop caring. So
yeah, if the players aren't going to listen to the coach, then you're not going to win games. That's the way it is. You got to listen to the coach, and you have to believe in what the coach is selling out there. And if you put in the work, you're going to develop and you're going to get wins. I mean, that's how programs like Utah, and even Iowa, even though they were in the West, they win a lot of games despite not having as much talent. You have to have that culture and those type of guys that are going to help you win. And definitely Miami has not had that. Duke, they're trying to be a defense-first team. I mean, that's why they had Mike Elko, and now they're getting Manny Diaz. They're defense-first guys. And at programs like Duke, it's better to have a good defense. And then if you have enough talent on that other side of the ball, then you can win 8 games. And the ACC is not that hard. It's not the toughest conference in the world. So if Manny Diaz can win 8 games consistently at Duke, he'll keep his job easy.
For sure. Sorry, I was rambling a bit there about Miami.
Oh, you're good.
All right. We talked about DeQuan Finn, right?
Yeah, I think we touched on that. Baylor needs help, so hopefully he can help turn them around. They need anything to go their way at this point.
Tyler Van Dyke, I think we talked about that. Jordan McLeod still in the portal, could go back to James Madison.
Yeah, it doesn't look like Indiana, like I said, last week's going to pursue him because of the fact that they've already got like 5 QBs on the roster. I thought they would add him, but who knows? Cignetti maybe just didn't feel like he was going to fit.
We have, I think this one's new, Sam Levitt to Arizona State. I believe this one's new.
Yeah, I think we might have said that last time, but I can't exactly remember. But yeah, Arizona State, I mean, he might be good for him, but they haven't really had their guy since Jaden Daniels, and they lost him to LSU. And since then, they've had a lot of quarterbacks.
Who's the guy
none of them have just been able to succeed, and who knows if Sam Levitt will.
Who was the guy that was going to go to Florida but didn't go to Florida and then went to Arizona State? What was his name?
Man, I'm trying to remember. Florida's lost so many guys, so
I don't know. He's probably going to be the one that starts. I can't think of his name.
Trying to think.
Let's talk. But what do you think about Cam Fancher going to FAU? Do you think FAU can start to turn it around with him?
Well, I mean, Cam Fancher's turnover prone. As we saw that when he was at Marshall. I think he has some talent, but I do believe that this is a way better transfer than him going to LSU, because he would not have started at LSU. There's no way. I mean, I don't really know why he's leaving Marshall.
It's because the fans, he got like a lot of hate from the fans on social media.
But they did make a bowl game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the world we live in now with the portal and NIL. If you're not making fans happy, then it is what it is. They want you out. But to me, I mean, I don't really think you can really get much better at Marshall, because before Cam Fancher, they had Grant Wells, who ended up going to Virginia Tech. and
He
he
got
was really
benched.
turnover prone too. And then he got benched. So, I mean, to me, Marshall is not like, a top tier group of 5. So, I mean, he was all right for them. But, I mean, Florida Atlantic's been struggling lately. They were a lot better a few years ago, obviously, when they had Lane Kiffin. But, I mean, he's just going to have to cut down the turnovers if Florida Atlantic's going to have any success, or they're not going to win as many games as Marshall did probably.
Mm-hmm.
Colorado getting a guy from Vanderbilt.
Interesting. That's quite a change going from Vanderbilt to Colorado.
For sure. Yeah, I did see, and you mentioned this too, Jaden DeLaura.
Turnover prone as well.
Is in the portal. What happened to him? Because wasn't he at Washington State? I think he was at Washington State, if I can remember.
You could be right. I didn't know that.
Let me look, because I'm pretty sure that he was at Washington State, and then he ended up going.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
Insane. Because he was actually good at Washington State. He put up a lot of stats, and then he went to Arizona, and at first he was putting up a lot of stats, but for whatever reason, last few, games that he was playing for Arizona, his turnovers were abysmal. And he lost his job to Noah Fafita. But yeah, at one time he was actually thought of as a middle of the pack quarterback in the Pac-12, but he just regressed.
Oh man, Austin. Do you see in the chat?
USC 28. Louisville 14. Where's the defense? Where's that vaunted Louisville defense right now? I mean, they can still come back. They can still come back. This is not looking good right now.
They took the kickoff all the way to the 40. Oh, they just sacked Jack Plummer.
Yeah, Jack Plummer, he got banged up.
Or no, maybe not. Maybe the backup.
He hurt his finger, so I don't even know if he's in right now.
No, well,
but if not, that's not going to help out Louisville at all.
Yeah, halftime. That's it.
I like how it says Robbie Ashford, Auburn, and
he's going back. He's going to stay at Auburn.
That's funny.
Maybe he thinks he'll win the starting job this year over Peyton Thorne.
Maybe. I mean, he can run. His passing is where is what hurts him. He's not a great passer.
But I don't think Walter Taylor's going to start right away. I think Shedeur Sanders is going to be the guy.
Yeah, I mean, Shedeur Sanders had a great year. I thought there was a shot he'd leave.
Yeah.
But the issue with him is that he's just on a team with a bad O-line. So we'll see if those O-line transfers and additions can help make Colorado, have a better offensive line so he can stay upright. Because if so, I think they could be decent.
I believe we talked about these other ones, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about Max Johnson and Tyler Shaw and Taylor Green and Max Brown going from Florida to Charlotte. That's a big downgrade. Hank Bachmeier was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got Colorado getting another quarterback too. I think we mentioned Destin Wade from Kentucky. Yeah. So they got.
Why are they getting all these quarterbacks for?
They're not all going to play.
I don't get it.
And then we talked about Noah Kim going to Coastal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coastal, their offense. I mean, that Ethan Vasco played pretty good in the bowl game.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see who wins the job.
Chubba Purdy in the portal.
Logan Fife went from Fresno to Minnesota. That's new. The backup quarterback for Fresno State went to Minnesota.
But Minnesota got the quarterback from New Hampshire.
Yeah, they got the FCS guy that was like tops and everything in stats. Why would you do that? Probably not going to start.
Yeah. Jerry Bohannon? I don't know.
Where's he going to go? I mean, I would think he would stay in the FBS, but, I mean, he definitely had a fall from grace from the Baylor days.
Austin P got a guy from ECU.
Yeah, I didn't even ever see him out there. I don't think he even played.
Yeah.
Rated as a 4-star transfer?
Well, he was a 4-star in high school.
Okay, I'm about to say, there's no way he's a 4-star transfer. This is very low on the list. Okay. Crazy ECU got a guy that was a 4-star anyway that didn't even develop. Tennessee State got a guy from Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is like way down the list.
This is kind of fun. Oh, Dexter Williams.
Yeah, he's going back home to Georgia. He's from Georgia. He's going to Georgia Southern. I did see that the other day. Good for him. I hate he couldn't stay healthy because I think he actually could have been pretty solid. He helped Indiana win the Spittoon back in 2022.
Mm-hmm. Evan Simon.
Yeah, he was the backup at Rutgers. So Temple. I think Temple, though, they got Kurt Warner's son, but I don't know if he's staying or I didn't see him in the list, but I wouldn't see him getting benched. Appreciate Jada for being here. He's stopping by. Appreciate it. We got a lot more to talk about. He said poor Tulane. Yeah, Tulane. Me and Will went Tech. We're going to talk about the bowls coming up soon. Yeah. But, yeah, that was not a good loss for Tulane. But Trevor Etienne going to Georgia.
This is pathetic by Clemson, refusing to go to the portal.
How did they not land him? They were the favorite.
I think Georgia came in with the cash, I guess.
I mean, I'm sure of that, and they got plenty of it, but that stings. I mean, Florida, he was their starting running back, and now he transfers to your arch rival. I mean, some Florida fans would say Georgia's their arch rival. Some would say Florida State. Depends. But, I mean, one of their biggest rivals, and just the fact that Georgia, the type program that they are right now versus what Florida is right now, this is just like the epitome of that. Florida, one of their best players, leaves to go to a team that's always in the playoff hunt, always in the championship race lately. So that just really hurts for Florida.
This is like Billy Napier should not keep a job. Like this is a fireable offense, honestly.
Yeah, they did not need to lose him. I know he didn't have the biggest year. He only had like 800 yards, but still, he's only going to get better. And he's probably going to get utilized more anyway at Georgia on a better O-line. It's just a very bad look. Josh says, what's your pick for the national title? We're going to be talking about the semifinals later in the show, talking about who we think will win both of those games. I don't think we're going to project to the national championship. We'll probably do that next week. Mm-hmm. But we're definitely going to talk about that. All those other transfers, I think, were done already.
Yeah. Stop me if you think one of these is new.
Minnesota got a guy from Ohio that was talented, that Sia Bangura. I don't think he was on there last time.
Yeah. I mean, Minnesota needs offense, so get it from wherever you can.
For sure. I mean, getting it from the FCS, the group of five, however you can get it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to keep up with the running backs, though. I mean, like some of these guys. I mean, we did talk about Chaney going to Louisville, Mr. Fumble from the Georgia Tech game, which it still wasn't his fault, though. I will back him to the end. It was not his fault. Kneel the ball, Mario Cristobal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He probably would have stayed if he didn't fumble it, right?
Maybe. I mean, who knows, though? Miami loses guys every year. I mean, half their team leaves, so he might have left anyway. But there probably would have been a better shot that he would have stayed if that hadn't happened. I mean, a lot of guys do leave because of just a bad reaction from fans. Mm-hmm. You do something that really frustrates them. So, but I mean, you just can't lay that on him. I mean, yeah, he shouldn't have fumbled, but shouldn't even have been running a play there.
Mm-hmm. All right, we can move on to receivers then.
Yeah, Evan Stewart leaving A&M, another talented guy from that recruiting class.
Oh, it's such a shame the Irish won't be playing against him in week 1.
Yeah. I still think Deion Burke's leaving Purdue for Oklahoma. That's a big blow to the Boilers because he was one of their better receivers. I don't know. It's probably because of the fact Jeff Brom's no longer there. Mm-hmm. And the offense isn't as good, and he wants to go where he's going to really be able to shine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Justin Jolly went to NC State. I think I mentioned that last time. That's a great pickup for them because he was probably UConn's best player last year. There wasn't a lot of, good guys on UConn's team, but he was one of them for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That'll help out Grayson McCall. Fleming still hasn't announced yet. He's been waiting for a while. Penn State has been like the favorite for
Has
him.
Penn State not been giving out the money? Are they negotiating the fee? What's going on?
I don't know. I mean, it's wild with some of these transfers where a guy looks to be going to a school and then it just sits for a while. Like some of them, they're just announced immediately, and then others, you're just like waiting and waiting and waiting. And sometimes they change their mind, like of who's the perceived favorite that they're going to be going to. But he might still go to Penn State, but it's just been a while. I know we've been looking at this for 2-3 weeks now, and he's still crystal ball to Penn State, but nothing's been announced. Kind of wild.
O-line.
Yeah, I know Colorado's been going after the linemen. They've been doing everything they can, and they need to. I mean, these guys know they're going to start easy because that O-line was so bad. There's like no competition for the spots. SMU got a guy that's highly rated from Oklahoma. That's good for them.
That's good for them going to the ACC, trying to become at least an 8-win team immediately.
They probably will. I mean, the ACC just doesn't have a lot of great teams, so there's a shot that it can win enough games. Yeah, Walter Nolan going to Ole Miss, and the fact they also got those other guys too. Those got the edge rushers. Ole Miss beefing up that defense. They're going to be formidable next year. I think you mentioned as well when we talked about the game, Ole Miss Penn State, in the last show. You said that next year's Ole Miss's year. They got to get it done next year if they're going to be able to, maybe advance in the playoff and who knows, even get close to winning the whole thing, even though it still seems unlikely. It's Ole Miss, but they do have a good-looking team on tap next year.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama got a guy from A&M, D. Lyman. That's big for the Crimson Tide, a very talented player that A&M couldn't keep.
Mm-hmm. Very excited to see R.J. Oben suit up for the Irish.
Yeah, he was really good at Duke. Duke had some solid defensive players, and they lost a few of them. So, and going to Notre Dame seems like a perfect fit. Duke and Notre Dame are two schools built similarly.
Mm-hmm. He'll probably replace Javonte Jean-Baptiste, who did very well from Ohio State. And he actually didn't opt out of the bowl, which is nice. So he'll be
it's always good when really good players do not opt out. Seemingly, everybody keeps talking about Marvin Harrison not opting out for Ohio State. I'm still blown away at that.
Yeah, we should change that. We should change that pick then.
Yeah, I mean, no McCord. I mean, he's going to be a backup quarterback, but I'm shocked. I mean, you would have not thought he'd have played.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see, though, Joe Milton is not going to play for Tennessee?
I'm sticking with my Iowa pick, man. I'm sticking with that.
I know this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but that's insane to me. Why would you opt out? You're not even going to get drafted, probably.
Do you think that? I think Tennessee, the coaching staff could have done it because they want to see Nico start.
That could be true, just like with Sam Hartman at Notre Dame. But why push these guys out?
Yeah, the top 4 quarterbacks from the class were Dante Moore. It was Dante Moore, Malachi Nelson, Jackson Arnold, and Nico from Tennessee. Those were the top 4 freshman quarterbacks. So they want to see Nico start for sure.
I mean, I understand that. I just think that you should
start the
guy that you've done the whole season. I mean, Joe Milton's been your guy. You make a bowl game, and now he's opting out for the draft. He's more likely not even going to get drafted, and it's because you want to see Nico play. I don't know. But that's the NIL world we live in.
I'm sure we'll learn how to pronounce his last name during the bowl game. I don't know how to pronounce it.
I think it's I am Liava, but I don't know. Could be right, could be wrong.
Yeah.
Jeff says we just saw the Mayo dropped on the West Virginia coach. Neil Brown, what a job Neil Brown did, saving his job.
And most West Virginia fans still want him out, which is funny.
It was funny because the commentators were like, the fans stuck by Neil Brown. The fans, they haven't stuck by Neil Brown. They want him gone. What are you talking about?
Obviously, Tackett Curtis from USC entering the portal is big news.
Yeah, that's a big loss. I've seen a lot of USC fans talk about that. They've actually lost a lot of players. Now, they did get a guy from Oregon State on the list. You see there Arnold going to USC, but USC's lost a lot of guys in the portal. So, I don't know. I mean, we'll see if they can really, settle down the Trojans fans' fears and be able to replace this, talent that they're losing. A A lot of guys are losing. Arkansas did get a guy from Georgia, linebacker, so maybe that'll help them. But they need a lot more than that if they're going to win next year.
Maybe KJ will come back because he's still in the portal.
Well, I mean, the thing is we've been paying attention to the portal closely, but looking at like all the teams around in the Power Four, I just don't think KJ Jefferson's going to drop to a group of 5. So like if he can't find a better situation, him going back to Arkansas makes sense. They did get Taylor Green though. Arkansas did, but I still don't think he's necessarily, I guess you would say, he's not better than KJ Jefferson in my opinion, but who knows? I mean, it's getting wonky out there. I mean, sometimes quarterbacks shift. We saw Phil Dracovic go from one of the better quarterbacks to falling apart. So can KJ Jefferson get back to what he was doing 2 years ago? We'll see. But, I mean, I don't know. There's just not a lot of options for him, I don't think, especially this stage of the game. But maybe he'll come back to Arkansas, but who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, Purdue. They get a corner, though. Defensive back. That's good. From Georgia. Texas got a guy from Clemson.
Domani Jackson entered the portal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of USC fans were talking about him, too.
He was horrible, man. I'm sorry, but he was so bad. He kept getting beat whenever I watched him play.
I mean, was it more him or was it the scheme, though? I still think the scheme was terrible.
Scheme and coaching for sure.
Mm-hmm. Didn't help.
Yeah.
Missouri got the guy from Clemson that Edward was talking about. One of the last time we were talking about this. That's big for them. Missouri seemingly trying to up their game. Getting some good players, trying to stay competitive in the SEC. USC got a guy from UCLA.
Oh, we got Western Kentucky guys staying at Western Kentucky.
That's huge for the Hilltoppers. It's always funny seeing that, they're in the portal and then they go back to the same school. It's funny how they have it on there. But, yeah, it's big for them. LSU got a guy from A&M. A&M's littered all over here with guys.
Yeah.
Insane.
We got Mitch Jeter, of course, and now Texas Tech getting a kicker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's way more kickers than that, but they don't even rate them.
Oh, now there's a lot. Now suddenly they're popping up.
Interesting. Yeah, Indiana, they got a special teams guy from James Madison. I forgot. I think it was like a long snapper or something or a kicker. I can't remember, though. I saw it the other day, but it's hard to keep up with it. But, yeah, they did add some names because, Chris Freeman, he's leaving Indiana. They finally put him on there. I don't know where he's going to go. Second year in a row, Indiana lost their kicker because the year before, Charles Campbell went to Tennessee. So it's interesting. Indiana keeps losing their kicker.
Mm-hmm.
Very weird.
All right, I'm going to go bring up the bowl games.
Sounds good. Yeah, the portal, there's still some names, still some big guys that haven't committed yet, and they're going to be interesting to see what they do, but definitely ETN was the biggest news of the week.
Oh, man, A&M's quarterback was injured on the first play from scrimmage, the quarterback they started with.
Oh, no. We both picked Oklahoma State, I think.
Yeah, so we're safe.
And Ollie Gordon's playing too. So, I mean, all signs point to them, but you never know. I mean, anything can happen. I think I'm doing better on the bowls this year because I've tried to take the opt-outs into account really hard, and and I think guys have done a better job this year of announcing earlier. It hasn't been perfect. There's been some late names to drop, like Joe Milton. But hey, Nico might be good enough. You never know. But other than that, like last year was a lot worse because there were so many guys that were announced like a day before. But I think my record's a lot better with the bowls this year than last year. My record was awful last year.
All right. Get into the bowls here. Ohio beat Georgia Southern. I think we both picked Georgia Southern. Or I'm not sure. Do you remember?
I picked Ohio.
Okay, you picked Ohio.
Yeah, and the thing is, too, I was worried because after I picked Ohio, Curtis Rourke announced that he was going to Indiana. And I don't think he played in this game, but Ohio won anyway. Because the Georgia Southern quarterback was very turnover prone. I'm pretty sure I picked Ohio, didn't I?
I don't remember.
I know we went against the MAC a lot, but Georgia Southern was only 6-6. Let me look. Because I did the ESPN Bowl Mania. What did I put? Pretty sure I went Ohio. Yeah, I did. I checked off Ohio. Thank you. I picked Ohio. I'm very glad I did. We didn't even do the Celebration Bowl. We didn't even preview that.
I was rooting for Howard. Yeah, I was rooting for Howard, but unfortunately, FAMU won.
Yeah, Florida A&M, they had a lot better of a record, but they still barely won.
Well,
I know that game was dominated by Jackson State, though, when Deion was there.
Yeah, usually the MEAC is better, has better talent than the SWAC. That's why their records are worse. Because they play tougher schedule.
Yeah, makes sense. Jason says, shout out to Florida A&M. Definitely. Hey, I mean, 12 in 1 year, it's good.
Rich Rod won with Jacksonville State.
That was a good win.
Yeah, that was a good game.
I think we both went with Jacksonville State. Now, I thought they would win by more because Louisiana Lafayette did not have a good season overall, but it was a close game. But a win's a win. 9-4 on the year. Can't really beat that for Rich Rod, especially Jacksonville State. I mean, they've been an up and down team, and they're new to the FBS too, so that's good for them.
Went a lot better than Rich Rod's last bowl game with Michigan, man. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, that's funny, man.
Oh, I forgot he was with Arizona too. Okay.
Yeah, he was with Arizona. You said Arizona. They were good in 2014 that year. And then they kind of started to trail off a bit. This has been their best year since the Rich Rod year in 2014.
I remember, man, in 2014, UCLA choked away the Pac-12 South. Oh, man, they blew it.
Yeah, it didn't surprise me at all. I mean, UCLA, they're more of a basketball school, even though their basketball team's not looking very good right now. Not this year. But, yeah, I have all the titles. The football team's always been up and down.
Yeah. Well, they had the most talent. Well, actually, technically USC did, but USC was the whole situation.
Yeah, USC is another school. They always have talent. They just sometimes struggle to win. Not as much as Miami. App State. I know we both went App State. I'm pretty sure about that. We spurred them back this time.
Ugly game, man. But congrats to App State. They always seem to win their bowl game.
Yeah, it wasn't a great win. I mean, they only put up 13 points, but their defense took care of business. Quarterback threw a pick, but they were still able to win. The running back for Miami, Ohio, had 180 yards on the ground, but wasn't enough.
Nope. Mikey Keene played and won the game for Fresno State.
I think I went Fresno State. I'm glad I did too because New Mexico State, they had the big game over Auburn, but I'm telling you, that was more Auburn. Auburn played horrible in that game. That Auburn team that lost 31-10 to New Mexico State was definitely not the same Auburn team that went out there and almost knocked off Alabama. It took Alabama on the final play of the game with a 4th and 30 prayer to win. I mean, that was not the same Auburn team. New Mexico State, they deserve credit for beating Auburn, yes. But I saw so many people saying New Mexico State was better than Auburn. Come on. I mean, no, they're not. I mean, it proves it. They were that day. Auburn played horrible, and Fresno State beat them down. And that was the best performance Fresno State had in weeks because they struggled toward the end of the year with some injuries. But Mikey Keene returned to form, 380 yards, very impressive win. Dominance.
What the heck with UCLA, man? They played.
Shouldn't have gone with Boise. I don't like betting against Boise, but when Taylon Green, I asked you, remember, I said, we still going Boise with Taylon Green because he announced after the fact. I should have flipped to UCLA. I really did.
Mm-hmm.
I agree, Jason. I know Auburn's not the best, but you got to admit, watching them play Alabama, that Auburn team was competent versus the New Mexico State game. They didn't even like they were even giving any effort out there. I mean, I get it. They're not good, but it just goes to show you how teams play differently when they're trying hard. For example, I mean, no one cares because it's football, but Indiana almost knocked off Kansas in basketball. But then very next game, they almost lost to Morehead State. Why? Because Indiana wasn't trying in that game. Players were trotting on the floor. Their effort was nil. Against Kansas, though, they were giving it everything they had, almost knocked off one of the best teams in college basketball. That's the way it is. It's about effort. If your effort's not there, you can lose to anybody. So Auburn is a way better football team than Mexico State, probably 3 times better. But they lost because they didn't try. That's the way it is. And Boise State, if they had Taylor Green, they might have won this game. But the thing is that him opting out, entering the portal, the backup quarterback was a true freshman because their true backup quarterback was injured for Boise State. So they had to go with a third-string freshman QB, and Garbers didn't even have to do that much. He only threw for 152, but yeah, we should have picked UCLA.
Oh, Cal. I'm so disappointed in Cal. Fernando Mendoza, 3 picks. Come on, Cal.
Yeah, and I mean, Taj Brooks didn't even have, one of his big days. I mean, he's had several games where he's ran for like 150 plus, but he only ran for 98 yards. I mean, Cal's D line did enough, but it's hard to overcome 3 interceptions. I mean, look at Brock Purdy the other day, 4 picks for the 49ers, and San Francisco got destroyed against the Ravens. I mean, would that happen all the time? No, but things can change. Things happen, and Cal played awful in this game. I thought that this would be a close one. I thought we both went Cal, but Texas Tech, credit to them. I mean, this was a fairly evenly matched game. I mean, some people probably would believe Tech was a bit better, but Texas Tech definitely got an easy bowl win over Cal for sure.
So disappointing, Cal. I thought
Western
I had
Kentucky.
it. Come on, you
Western Kentucky.
Yes.
Austin Reed, though, he made this scary. Why did he have to announce he wasn't playing? He said he was, and he wasn't. Okay. But Cade Velkamp, backup quarterback, who was in the portal, who was on the opt-outs list, he does play. Throws for 383 yards and 5 touchdowns and finds a way. After Old Dominion was up 21, at the beginning of the fourth quarter, they were up 21 points. It was 35-14. Western Kentucky scores 21 in the fourth, and then they kick a field goal in OT. Wow, what a game. That was an entertaining game. Western Kentucky pulled through for me.
Oh, so frustrating. All right. UTSA taking it to – I thought that Marshall was going to win this one, but then UTSA turned it on, man. They turned it on and won.
Yeah, I got nervous on this game because of the fact that Frank Harris, an hour before the game, was like, not playing, too hurt. I'm like, no. You can't do this to me, Frank Harris. Why? And then UTSA still wins big. So, I mean, we knew Fancher wasn't playing. Chad Pennington couldn't get it done. But, yeah, UTSA with a comfortable win without Frank Harris. 9 wins. I mean, how good are they going to be in the future without Frank Harris? I don't know, but that was a good win over Marshall. Marshall capped off their season in a poor way.
Yeah.
Bowl game was in Texas, too, so there's a lot more UTSA fans there as well. Something to take into account.
Syracuse.
I am not picking Syracuse in a bowl game anymore until they prove that they can get behind this mess. Got to prove it to me, Fran Brown. If you go 8-4, 7-5 maybe, and you look good, I might consider you next year again, depending on who you're playing, but whoa, I actually cannot believe I picked Syracuse. I know Garrett Schrader ended up not playing. To be fair, when I picked the game, he wasn't opting out. But, man, this is bad. I mean, I'm like, yeah, Syracuse is going to win 45-0. South Florida destroyed them. Byron Brown, great performance, and credit South Florida for having one of their best years in probably 4 or 5 years.
It looked like Syracuse was a D3 team. That was how bad they looked.
Yeah, and I mean, just to show you, Syracuse did not trust Jack Del Rio, the backup quarterback, because of the fact that they end up having a tight end play QB. They had a guy that was number 86 out there throwing passes. He was a tight end. A tight end played in this game. Why did I pick Syracuse?
Why did you pick UCF?
Well, I mean, this one doesn't frustrate me as bad. I mean, at least it wasn't 45-0.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech, I mean, I don't really know. I mean, the talent advantage, both teams have good players.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, UCF just collapsed. They were winning this game. As you can see, they were up 14-0 at the end of the first. And I was feeling good. I was like, yeah, I made the right pick here. But Georgia Tech came back. Plumlee, he just couldn't continue the success of the second half. And it was a good win for Georgia Tech.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Georgia Tech, their defense turned it up in the second half, man. I was impressed.
Very happy for Georgia Tech fans. I mean, they have not seen a lot of success in a while, and UCF, they got work to do if they want to compete in the Big 12 next year.
Yeah. Duke beating Troy.
Yeah, this was frustrating, though. Happy for Duke. I mean, I am. But what ruined this game, because Troy did not have opt-outs. Gunnar Watson, crazy thing about Gunnar Watson, he is one of I'll take that back. One of 43 six-year quarterbacks in college football this year. One of 43 six-year quarterbacks, and he is the only one not to transfer. He's been at Troy all 6 seasons. Only one of 43 six-year quarterbacks not to transfer. So Troy had him. Troy had their entire team. But a day before the game, it was announced that half of the Troy team had a stomach bug, including Gunnar Watson, and he played through it, but he looked terrible. His throws were off. They were all behind the receivers. Everyone was a step slow. The defense looked like they had, jelly legs, whatever you want to call it. They were barely moving out there. Like, Duke was terrible in this game. No offense to Duke, but Duke was abysmal in this game. But Troy couldn't do anything. Like, if Duke had Riley Leonard healthy, Duke wins this game by 40. Mm-hmm. That's how bad there was nothing happening in this game. Like, everyone was, like, moving like this. Just slow. So, I'm happy for Duke. Again, good win. All wins are good. But if Troy did not have the stomach bug, they would have easily won this game. Because they
my God.
They looked like they were running through mud. You could tell they were sick.
USC was about to score, but they threw a bad interception.
Well, that gives Louisville some life.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, man, that was bad.
Yeah, Miller Moss might not be the guy. Maybe he is still. I don't know. But, yeah, this was a frustrating game for Troy for sure because they like I said, they just didn't have it in them with the stomach bug.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Northern Illinois beating Arkansas State. This was a good game, but a little frustrating.
Yeah, did you see the end of this one?
Oh, Jeff, did you see the I don't know, Jeff might have not seen the interception yet. He said USC is rolling.
Yeah, I don't think he's seen it yet. Did you see the end of this Arkansas State Northern Illinois game though? Did you see it?
What was it the trick play?
What happened was Arkansas State, they went for 2, they didn't get it. So that's why they lost 21-19. But what happened was on the onside kick, Arkansas State went for it. And what happened was Arkansas State recovered it. Mm-hmm. But the refs blew the play back because they said that Arkansas State 2 guys jumped too early on, the receiving team, or the hands team to try to get the ball. And when they reviewed it, when the kicker kicked the ball, it was right when they were crossing the line. And the commentators even said that was not offsides or whatever. So Arkansas State should have won the game because there was like a minute and a half left, and they would have got the ball midfield, only would have needed to go 20 yards to kick a field goal. Probably would have won. I mean, you can't say they would have. Maybe they turned it over still, but that was a blown call. Everybody knew it was a blown call. Everybody on Twitter knew it was a blown call. But then they made Arkansas State redo the kick. Northern Illinois got it, won the game. Again, happy for Northern Illinois, but these bowl games, there's caveats here.
Yeah.
The Duke game, congrats to Duke, but Troy had a stomach bug. This game here, that ending was abysmal. It was terrible, and it is what it is. I mean, like I said, happy for Northern Illinois.
That's
Great
so
win for them.
That's so frustrating.
But it's just messed up. It
Oh
absolutely is messed up. Some of these
if I was Butch Jones, I would be like tracking that ref down. Like I would be not.
Oh, he was mad. He was going off for like 3 minutes straight. I thought they were going to eject him, but they were nice about it. They didn't eject him, and he was just, I can't believe this. You can just see him. He was saying a lot of things for sure. It was ugly, but yeah, that was a rough ending to the Camellia Bowl. But it was a good game. Stinks an end though.
I would be calling for the game to be like replayed, man. Like,
yeah, it'd be nice. But I mean, if only they had got that 2-point conversion, then it would have been tied anyway. But yeah, that was frustrating.
This game was frustrating for me too. Air Force.
Man, I went with James Madison because everybody was playing, including Jordan McLeod. I don't know what happened here. It seemed like all the guys were, especially the guys that, because Indiana's brought on, I think, 8 players from James Madison, 8 or 9 players. They all played except like 2 guys, but it kind of looked like they were a little preoccupied with going to Indiana. I don't know. They were not all locked in this game. Yeah. Air Force won, and what Air Force collapsed the end of the year. They somehow went out there and won. I mean, they haven't won in like a month. So congrats to Air Force. But yeah, James Madison looked distracted. I don't know. It was an ugly performance from them. I mean, they didn't get blown out, but I would have thought James Madison would have won this game. Yeah. But they didn't get it done.
Georgia State, man, taking it to Utah State.
Man, this game was frustrating because in the first quarter, there was no defense. And then finally there was some defense, but it was all Georgia State. Georgia State's defense stepped up. I think I went Utah State. I don't remember what you did. You might have gone Utah State.
I also went Utah State, yeah.
I figured that they would win. You know, like they Mountain West, you know, like Georgia State, I think also lost 5 in a row. But yeah, Darren Granger in his final collegiate game had a great performance. 3 touchdowns, 257 passing yards. He had like 100 rushing yards as well. He had not been playing well the last few weeks, but he played good in this game.
Oh, man, we got this one right.
Oh, yeah, that 15.5-point spread was too low. 59-10, the biggest obliteration of any bowl game. Wow. I mean, Eastern Michigan. I mean, are they really that bad? I mean, these are 2 6-6 teams. And they had a few transfers, yes, but man, South Alabama blitzed them.
Kane Womack, man, impressive.
Yeah, they didn't even have a good year either.
Where was this the whole season?
I don't know. If they had to play like this all year, they would have won 11 games. I mean, this is insane. I mean, again, I know Eastern Michigan might not be that great, but that was very impressive. Like Clint Moses said, power right in the kisser. I mean, it was destruction. And I'd hate to be Eastern Michigan after that bowl game. It's one thing to lose, but to lose like that, man, 49-point loss. So I don't want South Alabama.
I can't believe this game.
I'm happy for Ben Bryant, Northwestern. I mean, they were showing him, you know, how hard he was working. His family was there. I mean, the stadium was like 85% Utah, but you know, the few Northwestern fans were there. I mean, I was happy for him and David Bryant, but man, Utah's offense was just bad. Like, I knew it was bad all year, but they couldn't do anything.
I still can't believe they beat. I still can't believe they beat USC.
I mean, that shows you how bad USC's defense was. That Utah put up 34 on them. I mean, really. I mean, I don't know. But like I said, grass to Northwestern. But if I'd have known Utah was going to play that bad on offense, I wouldn't have picked them. But I don't think anybody was really expecting that. Clint Moses' fight after the game was even better.
Oh, yeah. South Alabama, Eastern Michigan. Man,
I wish I'd have gone Coastal. I'm back San Jose because I'm like, they got all those portal guys. Coastal going out there. Ethan Vasco had a good game on the ground. The quarterback for Coastal, he's 3rd straight, but he played well. He might get the start job next year over Noah Kim if he keeps it up. And Sam Pinkney, Coastal's best receiver, had a big game too. And I thought as well, because this game being in Hawaii, Chevin Cordero being from Hawaii, like I would have thought San Jose was going to easily win this game.
Maybe the moment got to him.
That was a tough way to end his career.
Yeah, tough.
Coastal played very well, a lot better than I was expecting.
Minnesota, yay, got to 6 wins. We still have
We
a losing
picked
record.
Minnesota. That APR score and all. Didn't
Yeah.
deserve to be in a bowl game. Didn't get a pretty bowl game in Detroit, Michigan, but they got a win. And I did pick them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I had a lot of Minnesota fans mad at me about that illegitimate win comment versus Iowa. It was an illegitimate win. I mean, come on. They should not have won that game. Cooper to G. But still, I mean, they got the 5 wins. They got the APR score. And they got a bowl win. So congratulations to Minnesota. Connor Bazelak, he played okay. But Darius Taylor on the ground, 35 carries, 208 yards, proved to be too much. And Minnesota's defensive line, they were putting a lot of pressure on Bazelak all game.
Mm-hmm. Texas State, man, they ran it up there.
Oh, man, Rice's quarterback, Paget, the starting quarterback, who obviously was playing for JT Daniels, he had 4 picks, and then the other guy came in, forgot his name. He threw a pick too. 5 picks in this game. There were 5 interceptions in this game. And what's so funny about this, Will, Texas State in their other 12 games only had 6 picks the entire year. They had 6 picks in 12 games, but 5 picks in this game. Unreal. It was ugly. Texas State getting their first FBS bowl win. Happy for them.
They had a ton of fans there when I saw it. It looked like it was, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what's ironic is Texas State had a guy on staff that used to be Rice's head football coach. He was like an analyst or something.
That's funny.
He was Rice's coach from 2007 to 2017, and he's an analyst for Texas State. No wonder Texas State won.
Mm-hmm.
Funny.
Kansas getting their first bowl win since 2008. Happy for the Jayhawks.
Yeah, look at Jason Bean. Prototypical Jason Bean day. 6 touchdowns, 3 picks, 449 yards. I mean, he gives you a lot of good, but then he gives you some ugly. But Jason Bean, credit to him, battling injuries this year, filling in for Jalen Daniels. I'm glad I went Kansas. I mean, UNLV, they didn't play well in the Mount West championship games, Boise State. And they played fairly well in this bowl game. I mean, putting up 36. But their defense, man, 49 points. I know Kansas is a good offensive team, but UNLV needed to slow them down some more if they were going to win. Luke Grimm, what a stat line. 4 receptions, $160 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That's a good afternoon for a wide receiver when you only have 4 catches and 3 of them are touchdowns.
Clint said that was the first sellout of SMU Stadium all season for the first responder bowl. That's out to you.
Wow. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. SMU didn't even have a sellout of their own, and they had a good year. SMU's going to have to fix that when they're in the ACC. You got to sell out.
And they shouldn't have much of a problem being BC.
Yeah, I already said it. BC's going down big. They're going down. And if BC wins, I'm going to be blown away. That'll be like my biggest shock of bowl season. I'm not expecting that at all.
All right, here we go. The college football playoff.
This is what everybody's been waiting for. It's what's on the thumbnail. It's in the title. The college football playoff semifinals. You've got Michigan favored by 1.5 over Alabama. You got Texas favored by 4 over Washington. I'm looking forward to both these games. Obviously, everybody is probably looking more forward to Alabama, Michigan, unless you're a Texas or Washington fan. I'm looking forward to the other game, too. And like you said earlier at the beginning of the show, this is the first year in a while that you really are looking forward to both games. They both have the potential to be that good. But Alabama, Michigan's the headliner for sure.
Mm-hmm. We didn't pay more for the Texas-Washington tickets, but we didn't pay that much less than $171. So that surprises me a bit.
Yeah, tickets low as $171. On Alabama, Michigan, tickets low as $350.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are steep. Clinton says, I'm picking Washington to win it all. Well, I mean, got to support your conference, former conference in the pack. Kind of it still exists for now until basketball season's over. But, I mean, it's kind of like a lot of SEC fans, they're rooting for Bama. Big Ten fans rooting for Michigan. I mean, technically, Alabama, Texas, and Washington and Michigan are going to be in the same conferences next year. Bama, Texas, and the SEC, Michigan, Washington, the Big Ten. So it's basically going to be a Big Ten SEC, type deal in the future. But I don't know. On this Alabama-Michigan game, I mean, this is just going to come down to Jim Harbaugh versus Nick Saban. I mean, we're talking about a guy, Nick Saban, that wins. And when he gets here, his winning percentage is unmatched by anybody. Not even Kirby Smart yet. Even though if Kirby keeps it up, maybe eventually. But, I mean, Nick Saban just wins. And I know they've had a down year compared to years past. Alabama is nowhere near as good, but they're still really good. They have not fallen off like Clemson, and that win over Georgia proved it. Yeah, the almost lost to Auburn kind of proved something too, but it is a rivalry game. We've even seen in some of Alabama's best years, they've almost lost to Auburn, and Auburn might not have been that great. So you can kind of take it with a grain. They won the game, but they beat Georgia. Jalen Milroe's improvement from the Texas game to now is undeniable. No one can deny it. Is he a perfect QB? No. But he's found a way, and Alabama's play calling, Tommy Rees, Nick Saban, they found a way to make Milroe work.
The funny thing is they're using more of Tommy's offense at Notre Dame and less of Saban's offense, which is like so.
It's true. And it's working. I mean, you have to put him in space. He can't sit in the pocket and throw all day because he can run out of the gym. He's got fantastic running ability. And Alabama's run game as a whole improved throughout the season because of it. Because when you have a dynamic running quarterback, it opens up lanes for the running backs. Chase McClellan, who he's been questionable. He's been injured a lot, but when he's played, he's been good. Roydell Williams has had a good year. So, I mean, even though no one for Alabama has had the season Blake Corum's had, but, I mean, Alabama doesn't have to run the football as much as Michigan does or as well as Michigan does to win, as long as Milroe's getting, picking up the slack and he doesn't turn the ball over.
Yeah.
If Jalen Milroe does not throw a pick and he throws a couple touchdowns, it spells doom for Michigan. They need to force him into a mistake or two.
And they're probably going to have the best defensive backs that Bama's faced all season.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, you talk about, with Michigan as well, we're all talking about Alabama's offense. Michigan, they've had easy sledding this whole entire season. Outside of the Ohio State game, where they barely won, but they were able to find a way. And, yeah, they struggled a bit against Maryland. Michigan's had easy sledding. I mean, Blake Corum has 24 rushing touchdowns. A lot of those have been in the red zone, just hand it to him, he scored. But he saw, like I said, had a good year. But Burton is Alabama's leading receiver at 777 yards. Nobody for Michigan is above that. Roman Wilson, none of their tight ends, none of their guys. So J.J. McCarthy, he sat a lot of the fourth quarter, a lot of these games. Like, his stats would be a lot higher if he played. That's why he had no shot at the Heisman. Everybody was like, McCarthy he's not going to win the Heisman because he sat too much. He wasn't able to accumulate stats like Bo Nix did, or Michael Penix or Jaden Daniels, who, ended up being the ones at the end, and Daniels won it all. But I just think overall that Michigan, it's going to be a road.
I think this game could come down to the quarterbacks. If JJ plays well, I don't know if Bama can win. If Milroe plays well, I don't know if Michigan can win.
I agree.
Yeah.
I just think that with Alabama, they've been tested, right? Like, they've, beaten Georgia. They beat Ole Miss. They played the Texas game early in the year, and they didn't win. They beat Tennessee. I know no one thinks Tennessee's any good. Mm-hmm. And I know Michigan beat Ohio State, but there's not a lot else there. There's not a lot else. Michigan, it's good in a way to cruise to victories, but sometimes it can hurt you because you're not ready for this. Mm-hmm. Michigan has not had to go through what Alabama went through. Their schedule's a lot easier. It just is. I mean, it's not really – I mean, if the Michigan had a tough non-conference game, that would have helped. But they can't help the Big Ten wasn't as good as what Alabama played, but it's just the truth. I mean, will J.J. McCarthy be able to handle Alabama's corners? Because Alabama's got good corners.
And they've got
Caleb Arnold's a good player.
Caleb down to safety.
Mm-hmm. I mean, McCarthy might throw a couple picks out of the blue, that you're not really expecting because Alabama's defense might shock him because he hasn't really had to deal with that. So I don't know. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I think Michigan, they're a team that this is probably one of their best chances to do it. They need to win. They need to win it all this year because we don't know how long Harbaugh is going to be there. Maybe he stays there more years. Maybe he doesn't. We don't know. That speculation's been year over year over year lately. And they got a talented team. I mean, this Michigan team is more talented than the Michigan teams in the years past.
Well, this is teams also, like, the best players on Michigan have played the past 2 years. Like, these guys, so they have, although they haven't been tested as much this year, they've been tested throughout their 3 years of being good.
That's true. It is. But, you know, that's why they came back. They came back because they wanted to win it all. I mean, why else would Blake Corum come back? Because he could have went pro, even with the injury. But still, like, they're an older team, but they're also a really talented team. And this is probably, like, the closest that Michigan has on paper to a team that can win a title than they've had ever in the last 5 to 10 years.
Probably since 2006. And even then, I think this team's probably better than that. Probably.
Yeah, now, like I said, 15 years. I mean, that was 17 years ago. And like Clint said, Bama was tested against Auburn, but that's a rivalry game, like Jeff said. Anything can happen. Even in Alabama's best years, they've struggled with Auburn, as I mentioned before. I think Alabama's going to win the game. I could be wrong, but I think they're going to win. I think I said when I was on the Michigan channel with John and Ty Guy and Jackson on the Voice of College Football, I think I said that Alabama was going to win 28-24. I think it's going to be a bit of a lower scoring game. I don't think it's going to be a shootout all the way. I don't think it's going to be an absolute low scoring game because if Michigan – if they can't get to 20 points, I don't think they're going to win because Alabama's probably going to get to 20s. They have to at least score 28, 24, 28 points to have a shot to win. Michigan cannot slow this thing down completely and try to make it a Big Ten affair. There has to be points, but the defense for Michigan has to force Milroe into mistakes, just like you mentioned as well. Alabama forcing McCarthy into mistakes. Whoever has more mistakes legit could actually win or lose this game. So I think Alabama's going to find a way because Nick Saban has more experience as a head coach winning these type of games than Harbaugh does. Harbaugh's getting the experience, but he's never won. He's never been able to do that. Alabama has. Michigan, this is their best shot, and if they win, wouldn't shock me at all because they have the players. This is a fantastic football team. Michigan deserves all the credit in the world. They fought through all the stuff, the scandals this season. With no Harbaugh for 3 games, they found a way to beat Ohio State without him. But I just think Alabama's going to find a way to win. Even though they're not as good, Milroe has progressed so far. They're a lot better than they were against Texas. The Auburn game, not a fluke, it was a rivalry game. I think Alabama will get it done.
All right. I'll pick Michigan to win just because, like, this is these guys' last shot. They've been together this whole time. They have more experience than Alabama does in these big games. Although Bama's played more big games this season overall, I just think this Michigan team is just more experienced. So I'm going to go with the Maize and Blue to win 28-24. I'll go for
Michigan. And I was very tempted to pick Michigan for that reason because when you know in your mind this is your last chance, they all came back for this reason. Harbaugh knows, like, we got to do this. And they would have rather had Florida State. They would have rather probably had Texas than Alabama. It's tough for Michigan that they got Alabama, but if Michigan wants to prove, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to win it this year, it's a great opportunity. You knock off Alabama, you knock off the team that's been the standard in college football for the last 15 years, so Georgia's done the last 2. If Michigan beat Alabama, that would be huge for them and Jim Harbaugh. It'd be massive. And these players to cap off their careers, a lot of these guys are not going to be back next year the right way. And they could do it. But Alabama, it's a tough nut to crack, and you got to do it first before a lot of people believe in you.
I mean, Jeff, I know that, but, like,
they don't have Nick Saban.
I don't think that'll win. I think players being there makes more of it. It's close, but I think players being there makes more of a difference than coaches.
Well, it's, for example, look at the Carolina-West Virginia game. When I did the preview with Austin, I said Matt Brown is more experienced than Neil Brown. Matt Brown, in most people's minds, is a better coach than Neil Brown. But West Virginia has the players. Carolina don't have the players. They didn't have enough talent playing in the game. Too many opt-outs. Who won the game? West Virginia. Do I think Neil Brown's a better coach than Matt Brown? Probably not. Matt Brown, he's getting older and is, question mark how much longer he's going to be able to do it. Is he as sharp as he was when he was at Texas and at Carolina before? I don't know. But players matter. And I think both these teams have the players. Alabama still has the players. Michigan now has the players. Can Harbaugh get them over the hump? It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's like that. Okay, this is what I have to say. It's like the sort of like March Madness where you have like Kentucky and Duke with the freshmen, and then you have the team that's like has a bunch of seniors, fifth-year seniors that goes to play, and they get it done because they're more experienced in the games. Even though they're not as talented, they have the more experience to be able to win. Sort of like
I think that matters more in basketball, though, because
it makes a
football, if you're just your talent's better, because you could take like a team like Utah that has the experience in some of those years. If they play Alabama, who's more young, Alabama's probably going to win 99% of the time because Utah don't have the talent. Michigan has a shot because their talent level is comparable with Alabama this year.
Yeah.
Most years it's not. 3-4 years ago, they wouldn't even be close.
That's why I was saying like Gonzaga and Duke, because Gonzaga still has. I mean, they're not as talented as Duke, but they have it.
For sure. And you're right. You could absolutely be right. Maybe the experience wins out. But, I mean, Alabama's got some experienced guys, too. Dallas Turner, I mean, he's been an infamous player for a variety of wrong reasons, but he's an experienced guy. Kool-Aid McKinstry's an experienced guy. Jace McClellan's an experienced guy. Jermaine Burton is an experienced guy. Like, Alabama's got experience, too. A lot of experience. So more than people think. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I can't wait for the game, though. And I'm glad it's the early game because more people will be able to watch. You know, if it's the later game, a lot of people might be able to see the end of it, which I'm sure most people would stay up if it's close. But it's going to be crazy. Steven, oh, no. Steven said Roll Tide beat the cheaters. Oh, no. I'm sorry if there's any Michigan fans watching. I mean, Steven, avid Ohio State fan. Appreciate you being here, Steven. Hey, you're making Jeff happy, though. You're making Jeff happy.
But I do say that with Utah and Alabama, Utah did beat Alabama. It was only Nick Saban's second year, but Utah has beaten Alabama before.
Well, I mean, that's true, but I mean, that's like saying Louisiana Monroe and knock off Alabama right now.
Yeah.
I mean, that was first season. I mean, Alabama was not a dynasty back then, but you're right. It can be done.
It can be done. All right. Now we got the second semifinal, Texas and Washington.
Doesn't have as much hype, but this is still a massive game. Florida State got spurned, which is tough. You know, both these teams got in. Alabama got in. But this is a better matchup. We all know it. If Florida State was in, it would not be as good of a game. Both these teams are fantastic. I've said all year I thought Oregon was better than Washington. I still do, but Washington won the games. Happy for Michael Penix. This close to winning the Heisman. They gave it to Jay Daniels in the stats, but Penix won the games. They could have given it to him. He could have won the Heisman. Been the highlight for Indiana that their guy went to another school and won the Heisman. But that would have been huge. But he fell short. But he had a great year. Dylan Johnson, great year on the ground. Roma Dunze, just video game stats. 1,400 yards, 13 touchdowns. Polk's great. McMillan. They got a fantastic offense. The key to this game, though, is Washington is going to have to score a lot because the defense, if Ewers doesn't have a bad game, which sometimes he's prone to have, we've seen it before, but Washington's defense has to slow down Texas enough because I think Washington can score in the 30s in this game. I know Texas has a good D-line. That's a scary thing. Texas has a good D-line. They might get the Penix more than they did last year in the Alamo Bowl, like you mentioned, Will, before we went on. These two teams played last year. Washington won. Texas is better this year. Defense is better this year. But if Washington's O-line can keep Penix upright and they can get in the 30s, I think they can win because, like I said, Texas, Ewers sometimes struggles to put up a lot of points in big games. I know he did against Alabama on the road, and he's been more consistent this year, but sometimes he's still inconsistent.
Yeah, I think the trick for this game is can Washington put the defensive performance that they did in the Pac-12 title game with all their players back? Will their players that came back be as big of a factor as they were in that game? That's the big thing with this one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that when you look at Washington,
because people were like their defense was so bad, but like they were missing a lot of players that weren't healthy until that conference title game.
For sure. I think when you look at Washington, though, I mean, their defense is probably potentially the weakest side of the ball of any side of the ball of any team in the playoff. Like their defense is the question mark because we know they can play and there's talent there. But Washington's offense is what got all the storylines and headlines this year. mean, yeah, Washington's defense helped them win. I think it wasn't at the Stanford game or whatever. They won 10-7.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those games. They had a game where they only won 10-7 against a bad team. I think it was Stanford. But other than that, their defense didn't help them win a lot of games. I guess you could say the Washington State game that they survived 24-21. But, and that's another thing. Washington had a lot of scares. I know Alabama barely beat Auburn. I know Michigan barely beat Maryland. But Washington had a lot of bad games this year. A lot of games, that they were playing bottom of the barrel Pac-12 teams and they barely won, or they were letting them hang around. Which is what I think a lot of people don't think Washington is as good as Oregon, or what, that's why Washington's a 4-point underdog. I just think, like Jeff says, I think Washington has scored a lot to win. You see Steven's prediction, Washington 48-35, Jason Washington 38-31. They have to score that much. If Washington only puts up 28-31, they're not winning it, more than likely. I bet against Michael Penix in the Pac-12 championship game, and I bet against them the first time around against Oregon. But this is Texas, though. Are they back? Can Quinn Ewers get it done? I'm going to go with Washington 38-35. I'm going to back Michael Penix. I could be wrong. I almost went Texas because I know how much talent they have. But are they back? Can Ewers get it done? Can they, get all that behind him? Can Brooks on the ground control, the line of scrimmage, get, Texas easy yards where Ewers isn't having to do it all? I think Washington's going to show up because not a lot of people probably believe they're going to win. I think that they're going to find a way to win 38-35 with a late touchdown pass from Penix to Adunze.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you, Jeffrey. I do think that Washington's defense, they're going to play. They're not going to be perfect, of course, but I do think that they're going to be able to do just enough to get enough stops. And Texas secondary is bad. I mean, they're not good.
Which is going to help out Adunze and Polk big time.
Yeah. And we saw how bad they were against Oklahoma. That wasn't a great Oklahoma team. I picked them to lose to Arizona in their bowl game. And they made their receivers look really good. So I do believe that Washington will do enough. I do think that they'll win 52-35 over Texas.
Wow, that's a lot of points. Yeah. Man, if Penix has a big day, 400-something yards, and they score 52, a lot of people be like, he should have won the Heisman.
Yeah.
He should have won the Heisman. But, I mean, that would be fantastic for Washington to score 52. If they do score 52, they're easily winning. But that's a good point about that Oklahoma game, because I thought Texas had the game. I thought, they scored, they're going to win. And then they let Gabriel go down the field. Yeah. Easy. Just score a touchdown. I'm like, are you kidding me? You lost. And then people are still like, Texas is so much better than Alabama. They're so much better. And I'm like, they lost to Oklahoma. Are you kidding me? Like, I know Texas won head-to-head. That's why they're in the playoffs, why they're over Alabama. That's why they got the 3 seed. But they lost to Oklahoma. I know they did good over Oklahoma State. I know they did good over Texas State at the end of the year. But Texas is not perfect. They deserve to be in the playoffs. They did a great job. The head-to-head went over Bama should matter. But Texas is a vulnerable team. And like you said, that secondary, Penix is a big day. Like I said, they got to keep them upright, though. Texas D-line's good. But if they do keep them upright, Washington should be able to win. This is going to be a great game, though. Very underrated game. In the fact that more attention is given to Alabama, Michigan. I think a lot of attention is going to this game, but more attention is going to the other game. But this game might end up being the better game for all we know. You never know. Both games are going to be fantastic, I'm sure. But this game is going to have a lot of fireworks, and I cannot wait for both.
Yep. So I have Michigan and Washington in the final. Jeffrey has Bama and Texas in the final. Bama and Washington. Gosh darn it!
I'm not going Texas. I'm not going with Texas back right now. We'll see. I'm going Bama and Washington. You're going Michigan, Washington. Sorry, Texas. Maybe they'll prove us both wrong. A lot of teams have this bowl season, but it's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be a ton of fun. Now, I must ask you one question. This is just a Twitter rumor. But, it's not technically a rumor, but actually it's kind of a rumor. One LSU writer said, if Jim Harbaugh goes to the NFL, Brian Kelly will go and coach Michigan. What do you think of Kelly going to Michigan? If Harbaugh leaves.
The only way that makes sense is if he feels that his job at LSU is under fire a little bit, that his job's not safe, and that he doesn't feel he can turn this thing around, and then eventually he's going to get fired. Because other than that, why leave? You're going to leave. You went to the promised land. You went from Notre Dame to the SEC. You got LSU, a team that can win titles, and now you're going to go to Michigan. I don't know. That would, to me, just be an interesting move. I would probably stay put at LSU because anyway, even if he gets fired, he's going to get a lot of money.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just something on Twitter that one of the LSU writers said. We were like, "What the heck is going on?"
I love rumors. They're funny. I mean, you see some of the craziest rumors, like Urban Meyer to A&M. I was believing that one a little bit. I thought it could happen, but then they went with Mike Elko. After the Mark Stoops stuff, it didn't happen. It's crazy. The rumors are unbelievable. But yeah, if he actually went to Michigan, though, if Harbaugh's
that would be so funny.
I don't even know. I don't even know what I would think. But, I mean, hey, it's no crazy than half the other things we've seen happen the last few years. College football is crazy. Jason says Brian Kelly going to join the Wolverines family.
But that would totally, like, all the people, all the Notre Dame fans that are still defending Kelly, there's no way they would be able to defend him anymore.
Oh, no. No, yeah. Of course not. I mean, they're rivals, Michigan, Notre Dame. No, like, it would be all over.
It
would be all over.
And the LSU fans were saying, "Oh my gosh, Brian Kelly, he's a great coach. He's lost." They would either go silent or it meant that they're wrong, and they're going to go silent. They won't admit that they're wrong.
Yeah, not people usually do not admit that they're wrong if they're part of one camp. It's the way it is. I mean, I don't really have anything to say with Brian Kelly. I think he's a solid coach, but I mean, he's not one of the top coaches in college football, but he's not horrible either. But I don't think I'd leave LSU for Michigan. I mean, unless you know for sure you're going to get fired. But even then, like I said, getting fired is not the worst thing.
All right. Well, we're out of college football news to talk about for today, but this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun for sure. I can't wait for the games.
I will be fixing my camera up, so the potato camera will be gone.
Oh, yeah, the camera, it pulled through. It was pretty solid, but, yeah, definitely to get that fixed. But appreciate you for coming on, Will. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Those games are going to be awesome in a few days. I know everybody's excited about them. I know I am. I know Will is. I know my family is. Everybody's looking forward to it. I mean, that's literally why there's no NFL games on January 1st. Because I had to do a double take. I'm like, there's no Monday Night Football. Wait a minute. Okay, you got the playoff. Yeah. Of course there's not going to be Monday Night Football. Okay, it was funny. But, yeah. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll definitely be back next week to probably talk about, the playoff, championship game with whatever happens these semifinals over on Will's channel. It's going to be fun talking about that. More portal news, I'm sure, is going to happen, and we'll be recapping more bowls and whatever else is going on in college football. Appreciate everybody for being here. Like the stream down below. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Share the stream out on social media. Most importantly, thanks everybody for being here. It was a lot of fun. Can't wait for those semifinals. And I hope everybody has a happy new year as well. And I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas too. Thanks for being here, everybody.
Go Irish, beat the Bees.